And so game week 16 is just about in the books, and it has been a frustrating one for me because despite the fact I have had probably my best game week of the season, I'm out here walking, talking to you, and I am furious. And you can probably guess the reason. And yes, it is my beloved Newcastle making tits of themselves in the Tyne-Wear derby, that feeble football team with one of the worst performances of the season. And I am going to rant about it a little bit, but what I'm going to do, because it is an FPL channel, is I'm going to explain how it relates to the ongoing Sol versus Solio debate we are having on the channel. And it's really frustrating because it has been probably my best game week of the season. And interestingly enough, this game has added further validation to that cause. I played my free hit. It has gone spectacularly well. Could even have gone better, but we'll talk about that in a second. But first, Newcastle. Oh my God, it's so frustrating. Do you know what it is? I've been working my ass off for 2 weeks every day. Work. 2 weeks, I'm knackered. Finally get a few days off and I get dropped by the dreaded lurgy. And I was in bed all morning. I couldn't get out of bed. 1-2, I came downstairs to watch that Tyne-Wear derby. And though I'm ill, that just left me feeling sick because it was just so disappointing, you know. And how it relates to FPL is this. We are having the Sol versus Solio debate on the channel, instincts versus analytics. Do you go with your heart and emotion, or do you go with the cold hard logic? Well, I tell you what happened today. Eddie Howe went with the cold hard logic, the reasoned decisions, the Solio approach, if you will. Whereas Regis Lebris, he got his players fired up. He got them playing with instinct. And I watched that game and I watched us get bullied. We got bullied by the Mackhams. They wanted it more. They were hungrier. They had a point to prove. Whereas Newcastle, you know, predetermined subs, it feels like. No in-game reaction to what is actually occurring on the pitch. Really frustrating. And this is a bit like the FPL. You see, I'm going to tie it back, and it might sound a bit daft, but Eddie Howe is a great manager. He's the best manager I've had at Newcastle in my lifetime, at least. He has surpassed Kevin Keegan for me. But the problem he has is that he takes a Solio-esque approach. It's about long-term planning. It's about running the data. It's about exceeding performance levels in the aggregate, about over the long term, raising the performance of the team to levels previously unheard of, you know. Like last season, won the Cup, Champions League, and now it's windy. We don't want the wind. I'll walk backwards for a bit, see if the wind dies down, try and block it a bit. In fact, I'll walk back up this way because now I don't know what's going on behind me. But, you know, and Eddie Howe uses this sort of data-driven Solio approach, and that's great for the long term, you know. Some games you win, some games you lose. Sorry for the cut there. It's just, it got really windy and there's just no point talking. A little bit of wind, you can cover the audio, but when it's too bad, it's just not worth it. So what I was saying, Eddie Howe, it's a Solio approach. Over the season, it will prove successful. He will get points you don't expect to get. He will lose points where you don't expect to lose them, but in the aggregate, he will do better than you would expect Newcastle to do because of the approach he uses. However, it's not always about the bigger picture. It's not always about the long term. Sometimes it's about the game ahead of you. And this week was one of those weeks. And Eddie Howe's data-driven analytical approach has not produced the goods. No, Regis Lebris, he got his team fired up. He got them to play the man, not the cards. And they've absolutely bullied us. They've bullied us all over the park, and it's infuriating. The worst thing is, like, the data-driven Solio-esque approach, what that will preach is caution. And what it'll preach is you stick with the plan, even if it's not working immediately, you stick with it and it'll pay off over time. And that's what Eddie Howe did today, you know. There was no in-game management at all. It was piss poor. Like I've never been so infuriated with Eddie Howe. And I love the bloke, but like, sometimes you have to adapt to the circumstances. Sometimes you have to see things aren't going your way. Start of the season, Ollie Watkins looked great in pre-season. Loads of goals over the summer in the last season. Great point scorer in FPL, but he wasn't producing the goods. You have to adapt to that. You can't say, oh, in 10 game weeks he'll be good. You have to adapt to what is going on before your very eyes. Eddie Howe hasn't done that today. Eddie Howe has said, oh, in the aggregate, if we do these transfers, we will gain more points than we lose. Well, we've lost 3 points today because he comes in with his pre-planned subs. Oh, at 60 minutes, we'll make this sub, and this sub. And then at 75 minutes, we'll bring Wisser on. And he doesn't adapt. He doesn't adapt to the circumstances. And this is a bit of the worry. You know, like we were getting absolutely dominated today. We needed changes halfway through the first half, not injury-enforced ones like Big Dan Burn. And like my brother's texting us, why is he not changing anything? And I'm texting him, I don't know. We're getting bullied. We need Joe Linton on for the physicality. Why have we got a 6'7" striker and the best crosser of the ball on the pitch in our squad is on the bench? And like, let's face it, Voltemada got one good ball into the box all game and he's won the match with it. It's just gone the wrong way. I'm laughing through gritted teeth because it is frustrating. And this is my worry with adopting the analytics, if that is the decision I make. Because one of my big strengths is reacting in this game. Like you might say it isn't, but sometimes you have to gamble on the intangibles. And that's something I've always been pretty good at, gambling on the intangibles. And I've done it this week really well because I have played my free hit. And you'd think I'd be buzzing, you know. At the minute, as it stands, I'm recording this at 16:26. Brentford is just about to kick off. I have got Thiago and Bruno Fernandes to play. Thiago is 68% around me in the ownership. Bruno Fernandes 35%. I feel like the only player left that can really hurt me is Brian Mbeumo. Because yeah, there's like some people have Cunha, some people will have Amad Diallo, some people might have, you know, Dango Ouattara or a Brentford defender, but I don't feel it'll be enough quality to hurt me. So where I'm at, we're in a pretty good estimation of how the game week's gone. And it has gone, from an FPL perspective, fantastic. You know, I played the free hit and the big gamble was taken out Erling Haaland. And I know he's got 13 points. He's got the 2 goals. But this is part of the new strategy for the FPL Nightmare, your old pal. Because what I'm thinking, if we work off a baseline of Haaland getting 8 points a week, 9 points a week, can we beat him in the captaincy? Can we beat Haaland in the captaincy and in the aggregate? With like almost like a Moneyball-esque approach, taking on the field to maximise the potential for gains in the ranks. And, you know, 2 weeks ago, I was 3.4 million in the ranks. As it stands, with only really Mbeumo who can hurt me, and with Bruno Fernandes and Thiago, who can help me, I am now 1.8 million, just inside 1.8 million in the ranks. You know, 1.6, I've halved my rank inside 2 game weeks, playing this approach, you know, taking on the template, if you will. And do you know what it is? We'll look through my team. My free hit team, this is what I went with. I got your man Sanchez and Chalobah in defence. 15 points. I got the triple Arsenal. I got Gyökeres, I got White, I got Saka captain. 25 points. And you might say, why Gyökeres? You could have had Haaland. We'll get to that. But the fact is, I could have, Hincapié was the one. I could have got an extra 2 points, 3 points there. But, you know, you can't foresee injuries. Although I kind of did, because I was saying on the pubcast, you know, will Ben White be able to manage 3 games in a week? And obviously the answer has proven to be no. So maybe that was a mistake. O'Reilly, Foden, 15 points between them. Cole Palmer, 6 points. Hugo Ekitike, 13 points. And that was the man I took on Haaland with. Hugo Ekitike. Because I thought I could have Haaland on the free hit. But if I'm not going to captain him, why not take him on? Like, there's a massive... Haaland was about 160, 180 expected ownership. So if I could have beat him, it would have been great. And Hugo Ekitike, he's matched him. Saka lost 2 points on the captaincy. It was a good effort. It was a good effort. But what that also meant was that I got Cole Palmer in for 6 points. Instead of having Joachim Anderson's 2 points, I got Trevor Chalobah. You know, instead of Kelleher, whatever he ends up with, I've got Robert Sanchez. You know, this is, you play the aggregate. And obviously, it would have been nice if Harry Wilson on my bench had started. But I'm ambivalent about that outcome. And I'll tell you for why. Because he could have been anyone. He could have been anyone. Like, didn't really think about the bench. I just thought about the first team, and then whatever money I had left, I just bought players. And Wilson would have been great to have in the team, 16 points. Shout out to my man D-Unit, who brought him in as a transfer. What a week he's having. You know, he's got 3 players to go, and he's on about 85 points. He could well end up in the 100 club. And again, it's a week for the instincts. It's a week for the analytics to take a step back, you would say, except part of the reason I went double Chelsea defence was because of Rob T's numbers that said they had the second best chance of a clean sheet. And, you know, I'm not invested in the analytics yet. I'm not. I'm very nearly there. Probably will be. Once you see the interview with Nick Triggerlips, you'll understand a bit better. And then that'll be out probably on Tuesday. I'm going to go home after this, get this video uploaded, and then finish that one off. I think this one on Sunday night, Trigger on Tuesday, and then hopefully Trout from Solio will come on the channel on Wednesday. I'll get that video out for you on Friday, because that is the one I'm excited about. That will tie this series up into a nice, neat bow, one way or the other. But Rob T said that Chelsea had the second best chance of a clean sheet. And you could say, oh, why not go Arsenal? They had a much better chance. Well, because they also had Arsenal. I wanted the attackers. And I thought, where can I gain an edge? And I thought Gyökeres. So yes, the thinking behind Gyökeres was, I thought he's a championship level striker, but he's playing a championship level team. It's a worthy punt. Nobody will have him. Why not? Give it a go, see what happens. And it didn't work out. But the plan was always triple Arsenal. And as it turns out, it doesn't really matter which triple Arsenal I had, because they all, apart from Saka and Hincapié, they all didn't out. And I could have gone with Hincapié, but do you know, I didn't really fancy the double up in defence, because I just didn't think, I thought they'd have a much rotated defence, and I thought you can't really ever back much rotated defence to keep the clean. And obviously so it has proven. So I got that right, but, you know, it's just a shame I didn't get anything from Ben White. Walking in the forest in the dead of night, I don't know what I'm doing. The things that I do for FPL videos. So yeah, I mean, I'm on 74 points. I have got Thiago and Bruno Fernandes to go. I feel like, I mean, it might be 78 points I end up on. Maybe it'll end up even better. Maybe, at one point I considered Thiago for captaincy. And if that had come off, if he does well, then, you know, if he does a captaincy level performance, then, you know, that would perhaps fire me up into the 100 club with Bruno Fernandes, but I just can't see it. Well, you know, so overall, it's been a good game week, apart from that blasted football team I support, and it's so frustrating. And you think, well, why not leave your walk till the morning, let emotions settle? And it's because I don't want it to linger. I want to get it out of my system so I can go home and have a nice night with my wife and kids. Because this game is a game that does affect you. Not just FPL. You know, in many ways this week, FPL is the mitigating factor for the frustration of football. And that's nice. You know, you don't always get that in this game we love. I'm losing my train of thought because it's cold and it's wet and it's windy and the light's not working on my camera so much, and I'm trying to find some street lights. And I'm also in a rush to pick my daughter up from the drama group, and I'm here ranting and raving about FPL. What am I doing with my life? Here's some streetlights coming up. Bloody hell. Stay with me, people. We're going to get some light in a second. Hopefully. It's coming. I don't know why my camera light's gone so dull at the minute. But what I'll do, I think, is we'll look to the future, because that's all we can do. Yes, Haaland cost us 600,000 in the rankings, but here we go. I had my man Ekitike mitigating that damage. Lovely punt. It's nice to know the instincts can come off sometimes still in this game we all love, which has been the relief this week from the frustration of the game. And right, I'm losing my train of thought here. I'm cold, I'm wet, I'm ill. Newcastle have been terrible. The lights are going. What am I doing with my life? But here we are. This is the other thing about the free hit. Henderson conceded 3 goals. I had Robert Sanchez. Timber did exactly the same as Ben White, just about, pretty much. You know, Declan Rice, I got Saka in for him. Loads of points gain. Haaland, Ekitike equalled. Gyökeres didn't do much, but he's certainly got more points than Voltemada. You know, and Senesi, will he play? I don't know, but Trevor Chalobah has done the business. So we can't complain too much. We take what we get in this game, and sometimes it's not what we want, but sometimes it's what we need. And so next week, of course, the other advantage to the free hit was keeping the 5 free transfers, which is partly why I went for it, because I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I felt like it was the wrong week to get 5 free transfers, because I've taken all those hits and I've brought in the players, and now everybody's just signing the players I already have. So, you know, I wasn't too worried about it. People going for Foden, for Nico O'Reilly, for Thiago, for Declan Rice. Like, I've got all these players. And this is where the advantage of taking the hits a few weeks ago has come in. You know, unconventional approach, not what your favourite big-time content creators would recommend, but it's doing the business for me a little bit, you know. Easy to forget, I was 9.8 million in the world. Now I'm 1.8 million with Igor Thiago and Bruno Fernandes to go. And I'm walking in the pitch black on a muddy path in the wind. What the bloody hell am I doing? Here's the feckin' wind again. Can't even remember the way. I'm lost in the forest, but not as bad as Spurs were lost in the forest. You know, I saw somebody say about getting kudos in, and for half a second on the free hit, it did give me pause. And then I thought, well, it's Spurs. You just can't trust Spurs. And so it is proven. So next week, though, I don't know what all that noise is. Somebody doing a Sandstorm by Darude on the car horn. I can't see where I'm gone. This has been a very poorly planned walking video for the FPL. And now it's all absolute chaos, and so is my head. My head is discombobulated. But next week, I've got Dean Henderson, Leeds, O'Reilly, Foden, Haaland, West Ham home. I've got Rice, Timber against Everton, Bruno Fernandes against Villa, Igor Thiago against Wolves, Senesi against Burnley, Voltemada against Chelsea. I am lost. And I've got Brian Mbeumo. I've got Munoz on the bench, Longstaff and Mukiele. Now, obviously Mbeumo will be gone to the AFCON. So I could put out a team and not make a transfer, but with the 5 free transfers, you have to use one because you can't get them to roll. And obviously Mbeumo and Munoz are the two because they can't contribute to my team. But the problem is I've got a defence. Timber against Everton, Senesi against Burnley, Nico O'Reilly against West Ham is a solid defence. So I don't really need to bring in Munoz. I'm not looking at the camera very much because I cannot see where I am walking. I have got my torch on my phone. This is a disaster. Feels like the Blair Witch Project. But there's nothing compared to the horror show that was that Newcastle performance. Bloody hell. I'm going to have to try and tweak this in the post video editing, I think. So I don't know. Like, Munoz I need rid of because he's not going to play. But it feels like a wasted transfer because I'm not going to play 4 at the back. So I just don't know what to do there. I mean, you got to play Senesi. So maybe I just find a cheap defender who's got a good game and bring them in and then leave them on the bench in the future. Now that found my way out the forest and now the wind's picked up again. This is an FPL YouTube disaster class. It's almost like, Eddie Howe. I've pre-planned the video and now I'm not adapting to the circumstances around me and I'm suffering the consequences. Right, so I don't know. I've got Munoz and Mbeumo. I need rid of them. If I get rid of Munoz, it's going to cost... If I keep Munoz, it's going to cost me team value, but maybe that's the way. I wanted to see how Palace did without him. They got beat, conceded 3 goals. So that answers that question. They've got a tough run of games. I think now might be the time to go against Palace. Highly owned. I already have Henderson in goal. I don't think I need the double up. So, but the question is who to bring in. Maybe Chalobah. Because Newcastle look toothless. But it's at St James's Park. Chalobah, I will be getting Chalobah, but Gameweek 20. Gameweek 20, I might even end up on a triple Chelsea defence because that run looks elite. But there's just not a lot of great options in defence this week. So maybe I end up rolling and keeping Munoz. Got Mukiele on the bench, so I've got a sub in case somebody misses out. And then it's Mbeumo. Who are the attacking options? Well, quick look, Semenyo. Obvious. Now the feckin' wind's picking up. But, yeah, Semenyo. Mbeumo to Semenyo looks the obvious one. We'll see what happens tomorrow night. If not, I'm not against Morgan Rogers. Another 2 goals this week. Man United at home. Villa are in form. Like, they have turned it around. And they're looking likely. So maybe Morgan Rogers is an option. I don't really see anybody else elsewhere that I don't have that, I was hoping a Newcastle player would present himself. I was hot on Hall and he's done nout. And I don't know. I feel like I'm just going to lose team value over the next few weeks and it'll be all right because in the aggregate, it'll work out. You know what is a few... Just tripped over there. What am I doing in my life? Coming out for these walking videos. Got a light on my camera, it's actually blinding me. Hey, it's a tough one. So I don't know, maybe Morgan Rogers. I think Semenyo's the obvious one. Probably go for him. Maybe that's the play. Mbeumo to Semenyo, roll with Munoz. I don't know. My mind's still a bit fried from that Eddie Howe disaster class. So, to wrap this up, the battle of Sol versus Solio. It's a victory for soul this week. I went with the free hit on instinct, and it's paid off big style. Regis Labris has put Newcastle, my beloved Newcastle, to the sword, playing with instincts and passion and emotion over Eddie Howe's data-led, pre-planned, formulated long-term strategy. And I'm frustrated. But at the same time, I can't let one game week determine the very future of my soul and my management strategy in the game. And that's what I need to remember. I can't be a hindsight merchant. You know, it's easy to say, oh, maybe if you'd have gone with Haaland instead of Gyökeres and just started Wilson instead of Palmer, you would have ended up with more points. And yeah, I would. Yeah, I would, but couldn't have known that beforehand, could I? So it's not the end of the world. So we're going to go now. Got an interview with Trig coming out on Tuesday. Make sure you watch that because it's brilliant. You know, we've had the pro planning, the pro projection viewpoint. We've had the anti-analytics approach, and now we have got the voice of reason, Nick Triggerlips, to come and discuss this with us. Anyway, enough. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.